Coming up on Movieology, what lengths would you go to save the world? Would you be willing to relive the same 8 minutes of your life over and over again and die 1,000 horrible deaths till you succeed? That is what our hero in Source Code has to do. We're all about source code on today's Movieology. Movieology is brought to you by American Vision. Movieology is beginning a new contest today. Name all the still frames you see presented in Movieology's opening title sequence in the correct order in an email sent to info@movieology.tv. The person with the most correct by April 30th will win a $30 gift certificate to American Vision's online store. American Vision has a plethora of phenomenal worldview resources available at americanvision.com. Welcome to Movieology, your ticket to engaging the spectacular world of film from a bedrock of biblical truth. I'm your host, Joseph Darnell. As always, watch Movieology on our website, movieology.tv. Subscribe to our show for free on YouTube, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter. This episode, I'm going to do something a little different per one of our viewer suggestions. Circus Chaser on YouTube commented, "Great to see you guys doing this. I have a suggestion. Split your reviews into 2 parts. The first gives the quick overview you're already doing that helps a person make a viewing decision. The second might go a bit more in-depth for those who have already seen it to help them frame and articulate their thoughts about the movie. This keeps spoilers away from those who've not yet seen it, but provides discussion material for those who have. That's it. Keep it up." Thank you, Circus Chaser, for the app suggestion. I'll divide my review of Source Code into 2 parts. The first is for everyone addressing topics of interest for those that are interested in seeing the movie. I'll give you my star rating at the end of my first part of my review. The second part, I will address issues with a spoiler nature. So this is for those that have seen the movie or for those who plan to wipe their memory as soon as they've done watching this episode. If you've already watched the first part and want to skip to the second, go here in this video's timeline to watch the second part. Otherwise, let's roll. When decorated soldier Captain Coulter Stevens awakes in a body of an unknown man, he learns he's part of a military mission to identify a terrorist on a Chicago commuter train. In an assignment unlike he's ever known, he learns he's part of a government experiment called Source Code, a program that enables Captain Stevens to take over another man's identity in the last 8 minutes of his life on Earth. With a second, much larger target threatening to kill millions in downtown Chicago, Coulter relives the 8 minutes many times over, gathering clues each time until he's able to solve the mystery of who is behind the bombs and prevents the next imminent threat. Source Code is a smart action thriller starring Jake Gyllenhaal, Michelle Monaghan, Vera Farmiga, and Jeffrey Wright, and was directed by Duncan Jones. The first thing that struck me in Source Code is how much Jake Gyllenhaal is looking like my brother these days. Yep, my brother has been asked if he is Jake, and the answer is no. My brother isn't Jake Gyllenhaal, but if he was, that would mean my sister would be Maggie, and I probably wouldn't be me. I'd be someone else. Of course, that would also mean I wouldn't be giving you this review. But what if I could be my brother
using Source Code? Hey, I might just become Jake Gyllenhaal instead, seeing as how we have so much in common. If what I'm saying doesn't make any sense, then it must be true. And what I'm saying is about as confusing as the science fiction in Source Code. To make up for the confusion, the filmmakers cleverly order the mind-boggling revelations in this mysterious narrative to draw attention away from the paradoxes. The movie makes you think early on that everything will eventually make sense. But in the end, it doesn't really. This isn't to say that Source Code isn't great entertainment. The cinematography was better than most action flicks these days. The special effects were limited to supporting the narrative. The mystery/thriller style is gripping. The love interest subplot is refreshingly simple and sweet. The villain himself isn't stereotypical. Its musical score was the best I've heard all year. In fact, I'll just go ahead and say that Source Code will likely be one of my personal favorites from 2011 in the artistic sense. When the movie got started, it reminded me of a Hitchcock classic. By the end of the second act, it was like Groundhog Day meets Inception. And the end felt like a reimagining of the ending of the Lost TV show. So if you had wondered, yes,
Source code does borrow a lot from other films, but its spin on these elements are above reproach. It's a clever remix that doesn't outright steal from other films. Source code should be especially popular with the guys, but there's stuff in the movie for the ladies too. In large part, the ending is for the ladies. The last 15 minutes of the film serves less and less action and intrigue till it finally ends as a drama. Ladies, if you want to support the men in your life, it won't be too difficult to watch Source Code with him. For just about every 8 minutes of the movie, there is 30 seconds or so in it for you, and then there's the sweet, sensitive ending to boot. As for the worldview, some are calling it an existential search for individual identity. Others have rebuked Source Code's political correctness and slap in the face of all American patriotism. I didn't see these distinguishing qualities. Much of the movie is led by the science fiction elements which presuppose evolutionary theories to make sense of all the unscientific devices and implausible twists. Consistent with evolutionary worldview, the story presupposes the need to serve the greater good for mankind. Doing the wrong thing for the right reasons. That is to say, the end justifies the means, is the modus operandi for just about every character, the villains and the heroes. For a movie heavily constrained to Captain Stevens' singular mission to discover the identity of the bomber, you would think that there would be no time to explore the meaning of life and reconciliation. But Source Code gives Captain Stevens ample opportunities to explore these issues, and more with the help of the passenger on the train, Christina. The two of them broadly discuss good and evil, free will, redeeming the time, relationships, life after death, etc. Something brought up several times throughout the movie is Christina's search for spiritual fulfillment. She has resolved to go to India to become a guru. Christina is Hindu. Does Christina represent the reigning worldview of the film? Yes. By the end of the movie, Captain Stevens has turned to her as his own personal guru several times. She guides him spiritually as he repeats his mission, each time coming closer to his actualization. She inspires him with thoughtful insights that are loosely held Hindu ideals. Christina at one point calls Captain Stevens the Keeper. The Keeper in Hinduism is Lord Vishnu, the sustainer and preserver of the universe, in the Hindu Trinity. He is also known as the Keeper of the Cosmic Order, or Dharma. He assumes 10 incarnations to sustain Dharma. Captain Stevens outdoes Lord Vishnu with at least a dozen incarnations. So take that! I give Source Code 4 stars. It's a thought-provoking film with a remix of old movie themes applied to a whole new bag of originality. The movie works well as entertainment with a modern spin on Hinduism, good for worldview discussions and witnessing opportunities. The sci-fi elements keep the geek in me alive. If there's anything missing from Source Code, it's the lack of the villain side of the story, but the movie works just fine without it. Now for the second part of the show. This is where I'll get into the nitty-gritty, divulging more worldview aspects that necessitate spoilers. You have been duly notified. So what does it all come down to? Captain Stevens asks Christina if she believes they are led by destiny. I know, original for a movie, right? Destiny can be defined as the unavoidable plan of a supreme deity. Think the Adjustment Bureau. Christina says that this isn't how the universe, or universes rather, work. In truth, we're all directed by dumb luck. This is the final word on the issue, the last words of the entire film. All this works well in the movie because it's not religion for religion's sake. In the bubble of Source Code, the Hinduism works because it ignores Hindu religious practices. It solely applies Hindu philosophy to the character's dire situation. Now, about the ending. Did it make any sense to you? It helps if you know a thing or two about other sci-fi stories that involve multiple dimensions. Simply put, dimensions are theoretically different universes. There can be great or small differences in each universe. Because the potential number of differences there can be between universes is infinite, it is supposed there are infinite universes. Some call this science fiction. Others think multiple dimensions are real. This would mean there are infinite versions of yourself, all taking different turns through life, and some dimensions where you don't exist whatsoever. Captain Stevens hops from his dimension to other dimensions every time he is put into the mind of Sean Ventress. The last time, he is successful in stopping the bomber, deactivating the bomb, calling his father, establishing a relationship with Christina, making all the train car's passengers happy, and living past the 8-minute window because he's in another dimension, like ours, but where he has succeeded in surviving another universe. On top of all this, he manages to inform Goodwin that they managed to jump him to another dimension. Ultimately, this would mean man could escape death, create his own history, play God, and get anything he wants. It would take a while the way Captain Stevens is limited by the source code, but the possibilities would be endless. Multiple dimensions makes good sci-fi, but scientifically there isn't any evidence for them. It also is impossible to fit the multiple dimensions theory, as it is in the movie, into the biblical worldview, though many sci-fi enthusiasts have tried. Just because the Bible doesn't say there aren't multiple universes doesn't mean God would create them. If there are infinite universes with different histories, purposes, causes, then God is pluralistic, running the multiple universes with different principles in each. God would be the cause of multiple dimensions, toying with not only his creations, but also his very nature. The whole idea of hopping from your own body to another stirs up another moral dilemma. Captain Stevens takes over the body of Sean Fentress. A man just shoved out of his own body. This is in the best interest of all the characters except Sean Fentress. Well, and the villain. It's not possible to interpret the end of Sean's life as anything but murder. As anything but murder for the greater good. Then there is Captain Stevens' deception. Stevens admires Christina's honesty, but his whole personification, the usurpation of Sean's body and his identity, is a lie. Captain Stevens isn't Sean Fentress, but he lies to Christina and his own father, saying that he is. But it's not like Captain Stevens has a choice. The way the story is staged, his only option is to take Sean's identity. The movie does its best to persuade you that this is okay. Stevens' deception is only natural and harmless, and it's ultimately rewarded. The reason Stevens is allowed to skirt past these evils is again thanks to Hindu worldview. One who has obtained a state of moksha, deliverance from ignorance, is free from the application of good, evil, and judgment. Someone delivered from the finite, which Captain Stevens is delivered from that which ignorance involves, like subjection to good and evil. So in the end, Stevens isn't responsible for any wrongdoing. He's the hero that has overcome time, space, body, soul, morality, and the laws of quantum physics. Source code does not work based on the sci-fi elements alone, nor did the filmmakers try to make it so. The whole point to it is that there is a transcendence that can be achieved that is above petty things like ethics, morality, and God himself. The message denies reality and is satisfied with man's vain imaginary maxims that are unfounded and harebrained. So that's it for Source Code. If you want to add your 2 cents, comment on today's episode. Remember, you can always email us your questions and suggestions and feedback to info@movieology.tv. And if you want to do us a favor, share Movieology with others you like to discuss movies with. I'm Joseph Darnell. Until next time, thank you for watching Movieology. Over again and die 1,000 horrible deaths till you have
The first thing that struck me, can't see the R.
So I could become my brother's source code avatar with my shoes off. That is correct. In another dimension, what I said would be right.
Truth lies in the inability to understand.
I know, it's very sad.
I like to teach the world to sing.
Awesome.
Can I see it? Can I see how silly I look?
No, I gotta continue recording. You can come back later on closer to 5.